Great. Well, thanks all. If you're here for the Changemaker conversation, following up on the worship service where we talked about making change in our community last month, please feel free to join the circle. If you're just hanging out in the back because you just want to watch the circle, that's fine too. But you're also still welcome to come forward at any point in time. And we are going to be splitting up into smaller groups in a minute too. So does anybody remember October? I remember it. Back in October, Diane and Kim led the worship service and preached a sermon on aspects of change making. Diane, can I put you on the spot? Can you remind us a little bit of what that was? Thank you.
Kim can join me too if needed. So the scripture was the paralyzed man, the four men who dug open the roof of the house and lowered down the paralyzed man to be healed by Jesus, and we paralleled that with the pantry, and these moments when we think we can't do this. This is too much. It's too big. It's impossible, and yet when we get together, when we collaborate, when we keep talking about it, when we have faith, things can happen, and unexpected things can happen out of that.
That's a great synopsis, and it was a great sermon, so I'm grateful to Diane and Kim for that. And so in response to that message, you all were given slips of paper and to write what issues or concerns you have in our community. Where are the places you felt like we as a congregation could be engaged in change-making work? Kim and I reviewed all of your slips of paper. We organized them loosely into 5 themes. So if you wrote something that's not up here on the board, it's because we thought it would fit under one of these categories. And the 5 sort of larger themes that we were looking at based on the pieces of paper you submitted. There's a large theme about political engagement and electoral concerns. It's almost like you knew in October where you would be now. Congratulations on the unfortunate gift of premonition. So you had concerns about political engagement, about voter disenfranchisement, and other. There was also a theme, someone mentioned gun control, other issues that I would say are political issues that are in the realm of electoral and legislative work. The other theme that came up was opposing Christian nationalism. We had a movie night here back in August about Christian nationalism. We've talked a little bit about it since. There were a few people that said they were concerned about that and felt like our congregation could do more in making a change in that area. Other folks connected with climate change. Then there was a broader piece about supporting LGBTQAI plus folks, particularly young folks, and other marginalized groups of people who come through our campus. So our campus actually has a lot of people that come here regularly. We do have LGBTQAI plus folks. We also have folks who are here for 12-step meetings. We have people who are engaging with North Bay Organizing Project, some of whom are undocumented, many of whom are young people. We also have safe parkers. So just what are the tangible ways that we can engage with those folks and support them better on our campus? That was another theme. And then the last theme was homelessness and affordable housing, because that is always a justice issue that we care about in this county. So does that all make sense, that we would organize all those issues into these themes? Okay. So for today, I wanted us to engage in an exercise of really thinking about, it's an community organizing exercise that's called asset mapping. So imagining what you already have to offer, what you have to offer to work on a particular issue, what needs to be done about that issue, and then it's a math problem. So then you subtract one from the other and you figure out what you still need and who you still need to connect to in order to impact change. I'm going to invite us to break out into groups and look at these. I'm going to take personal privilege and suggest that we break out only into 3 of them, and for good reason. So I want us to focus today on how we can positively impact climate change, how we can support marginalized groups on our campus, and what we as a church can be doing around homelessness and affordable housing. The reason for that is that the political engagement and electoral concerns piece, I would heavily recommend that we find, and I hope we will in the next year, find ways to engage with the work that North Bay Organizing Project is doing around that. Some of us connected with the Deep Democracy work in the last few months. There's going to be, North Bay Organizing Project is having its issues assembly in March, in which the organization determines its core issues for moving forward. As we go into March, I'm going to find ways to connect us with that work. Hopefully more of us can engage in that process. And that work of political engagement and electoral work is really best done in a coalition, and so I hope that we'll be part of that coalition to do that work. Opposing Christian nationalism, I do think we should still do that. But there are already some ideas in the cooker about how we can do that, so I want to see those kind of flesh out before we brainstorm over them. So is it okay to you all to focus today on climate change, supporting marginalized groups on our campus, and homelessness and affordable housing? Does that seem okay? I don't think we're going to get them all solved today, so if we do, then we'll go to the others, and we'll be on a roll. So, show of hands, who's most interested in being part of a breakout group on climate change? Raise your hand. Okay, that's good. Who's most interested in being part of a breakout group on supporting marginalized groups on our campus? Raise your hand. Okay. Who's most interested in being a breakout group on homelessness and affordable housing? This is pretty good. This is a pretty good split. Okay, so let's have homelessness and affordable housing circle up kind of around back there. We'll have supporting marginalized groups on our campus here, and we'll have people talking about climate change there. I'll invite you to break into those sections now, and then I will go over what will be the process of doing this work. So feel free to move into spaces and move some chairs. So these are the three questions we engage with in asset mapping. So we actually, sorry, they're out of order. You want to start with assets. So when you look at an issue like climate change or engaging with marginalized people or affordable housing, assets, what assets do we have to offer? Assets can certainly be money, space, facilities, people, expertise, experience. All of these things, tangible and intangible, are assets to offer. So we'll look at that first, and maybe what I'll do is I'll just walk us through that. Let's start with 5 minutes on this part of the exercise, and then I'll move us to the next part. Begin this with thinking about what assets you have to offer on your particular issue. So we're going to come back together, and we're going to quickly kind of hear the highlights from each group together enough. This is good. And why don't we start with the group that was looking at the needs of marginalized folks who are on our campus. That was the broadest topic, so you did the hardest job, Diane. Why don't you start us off?
It's amazing. Okay, so, and chime in if I'm skipping. Lindsay just asked me to do just sort of the highlights, right? Not all the stuff. So, we have a lot of assets and we have a lot of things already going on. And I'm just going to say that and leave that list there. There's a lot of things already going on and a lot of things that we have, especially around space. And, things that are already happening, like the pantry. So we brainstormed a lot of things. There was a huge focus on safe parkers, right? How can we find out what they need, help build those supports, give them, what they're needing. We talked about showers, laundry, even something to do with food in terms of their ability to prep it or, keep it in the fridge or those kinds of things. We also, it came up a number of times, language skills, like with the pantry and other places, not having people who are, most broadly Spanish is what we need, although there's other language groups as well. And how can we either get trained, find new people, learn how to use our technology quickly and easily, that kind of stuff. And let's see. And also, we talked a lot about the use of events to bring people in, like Flamey Grant came. We had so many people not connected to this church in any way. That could be replicated. That could be done maybe as an outreach to our Latino community, different kinds of things that we could step up and host for folks. And also leveraging our community partners, because we have a lot of people that are doing that. And not surprisingly, this church is ready to go. So I hope I didn't offend anybody, but I kept trying to pull us back because people are ready to go. They're ready to plan, they're ready to research, they're ready to do it. So we need more time to do that, to really sit down and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. How are we going to get there?
Okay, so we had the homelessness and affordable housing category, and then this column here is brainstorming. The middle column is the assets, and then the right-hand column is power building. So under under brainstorming, just the encouragement to be creative and to dream and to really kind of think outside of the box. What does that look like? To build affordable housing. Exploring granny units, ADU, finding people, making connections in the community, more shared housing, partner, work with restrictions and the short-term rentals. Focus with other agencies and agencies already doing impactful work. Look at the mental health component of housing and what's needed there. And then also the aspect of sustainability with housing. We talked about some instances where there were projects done, but the long-term sustainability of it has not been so successful. Combating addiction, applying for grants, what are some of the legal barriers, co-op housing, like the unit just right down the street is a good example, converting motels or vacant buildings, non-traditional housing, RV parking, funding obstacles, and then blended socioeconomic housing. So essentially the people with more money are living alongside middle income and low income folks. So the assets, what do we have to offer? We are utilizing safe parking to some extent. IFSN, and tell me what that stands for again? Individual and Family Support Network. The living room, HUD housing, Habitat for Humanity, Catholic Charities, and I'll just say that our rationale in listing these already in existence organizations in Sonoma County is that we as a church or individual have the opportunity to possibly partner with them if they're already building successful organizations or projects in our community. Catholic Charities, Burbank Housing, FISH, the Greenway Project, Redwood Gospel Mission, Elijah Pantry, St. Vincent de Paul, that's the new housing unit on Mendocino, Harvest for the Hungry, I just said experience and knowledge of community organizations in BOP, and then Shared Sonoma and Athena Housing. So it's a big, long list.
Sorry, can I ask you? So we also had folks on Zoom who were talking about our safe parkers and reminded us that the YMCA is a great asset and a great partner here in the community as well. The YMCA. Yeah, great.
S- s-
Okay, so also, sorry, I'm just saying this for the folks on Zoom. Also, there's a connection with Habitat for the Humanity, which is revitalizing here in Sonoma County.
Thank you. Okay, so the last category we had, who or what else do we need? So identify where in the church where we already have community connections. So like I may be a member of some board or some organization that has an impact. How do we create visibility to that? Making connection to our politicians, our county supervisors, city council, federal and state representatives, our governor, grants, exploring that, both government and charitable, community around the CCUM for safe parking, the folks around our campus, and then industries with like vision, such as contractors or builders.
Awesome. So lastly, we'll look at the group that talked about combating climate change. Laura, thank you for taking notes. The assets we have here are our garden, the space that we have, our can-do mindset, people who want to make a difference in this, those of us who have backgrounds as educators, and those who also have backgrounds in science and writing, and then we have other connections with local organizations as well. With our brainstorming, we talked about developing a partnership with Sonoma Clean Power. We talked about doing more lobbying work, writing, getting more things like in the Press Democrat. We also talked about reducing our own water usage, looking specifically at the lawn that we still have. We also looked at potentially reducing energy usage by updating appliances or adding solar panels. And we also talked about connecting more with other congregations that are doing work around climate change. Our power building needs, a big takeaway was connecting more with Sonoma Clean Power around looking at adding solar panels maybe in our parking lot, doing a power assessment of the appliances that we have, so we kind of understand where are the places that we could improve. Also talking with other interfaith leaders to maybe find ways that we can be working together and research what other groups are doing. So this has all been, these are a lot of ideas. I want us to take a moment and just breathe in and out. Feel some gratitude for being part of a community that's ready to look at doing more and doing things differently. Just an observation I noticed, sometimes we struggle to stay on task or on specific focus. We tend to be a congregation of people who want to dive right in and start getting into the how-to. So I tried to split this up as quickly as possible, but even so, as we were mapping our assets, I noticed some people were already ready to solve the problem. So this process requires some discipline, it requires learning, and it requires practice, right? And the reason why I think this process of asset mapping and of brainstorming is important is because it's actually part of our change maker process. The thing is, if you jump right to problem solving mode, you often are missing a lot of things, right? Because you're narrowing in your focus before you're taking a moment and really kind of looking around you. Dare I say it, you're also narrowing your focus before you're really thinking about where God might be calling you and where God might be calling our congregation. So this is all to say that I think there's a lot of energy in making change in our community. So I want us to be looking ahead to January. On Saturday, January 4th at 9 a.m., we're going to have our an Epiphany Change Maker retreat. So you've heard about the Change Maker program. You've heard from members of the Change Maker cohort. We're going to lead a retreat on that Saturday at 9 a.m. here. And we're going to be We're going to be learning about the change-making process and even maybe engaging with some of these ideas and thinking about what we can be doing to make broader change in our community. So it'll be an opportunity to learn about the process, but also to enact some of these things. There are some pieces here that also feel like we might be able to get started sooner or get started in systems that already exist, and we're going to be looking into that as well. But I do want us to be thinking about that date in January. Saturday, January 4th at 9 a.m. Yeah. It is open to you. I'm inviting all of you. Yeah, it would be terrible to invite it. So yeah, no, everyone is invited to that event on January 4th. Take a moment. It's going to be from like 9 to 1. So why don't Anne is asking if she can have an assignment for things she can do in preparation, and that's why there's a special space for Anne in the kingdom of heaven. We'll talk, Anne. Thank you. We will remember your name as we're planning. All right. So why don't we just take a moment and breathe in and out, and just if you're moved, to just offer a word or a phrase of what is sitting with you right now. After worship today or after this process, I'll just invite you to shout it out, and I'll repeat it into the microphone. Hopeful. Strength in numbers. Thankful to be with this congregation. Can do. Momentum. Helping us enjoy being challenged. Feeling more empowered about the future. Healing. All right, let's take a moment and breathe in and out. Loving God, we give you thanks. We give you thanks that we are blessed by the power of the Holy Spirit. We give you thanks that even now you are opening new possibilities, calling us to do something new and to make change in the world. We ask you to bless us and guide us, to fill us with your Spirit, that we may rest in your hope, that we may be co-creators of your commonwealth of justice and peace on earth. Amen. All right, thanks everybody.